Okay, good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Good
Yes, sir.
morning.
Screen is okay? Is it visible properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we'll start. Last time already we discussed partially on this topic, that is nothing but design of dual power supply, and that you will require in the next assignment, that is data acquisition system. And that's why first of all we will complete this one and then we'll go ahead. Okay. Today during our practical session, again I will be going to conduct based on the same circuit diagram, or we will be going to develop the problem statement, and we'll try to design and implement. Okay. So don't miss that practical session also, which is scheduled at 1:45. Okay. So see, again, here we will going to use the main source as a 230 volt AC supply, that is 230 volt 50 hertz, right? There is one step down transformer. Purposely, I drawn this much circuit only because first of all, I will explain exactly how it will going to work to produce the positive as well as negative DC pulses or pulsating DC, right? Now audible na properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if any interruption, just inform me immediately. Huh? Just turn on or unmute yourself and inform me if voice is cracking or if blackboard is not properly visible. Right. Okay. So before going to this working, again, I would like to explain the basic working principle of this step down and center tap transformer. Already we discussed about its construction. During the construction, I told how that center tap terminal is taken out, right? It is simply extracted at the center of that secondary coil, right? So the same transformer, again, I can redraw it like this also. Is it visible? See, what I shown, I divided that secondary in two parts. That means there are two secondary windings, we can say. Okay. We'll take one example so that it will be somewhat easy to you for understanding purpose. If the set transformer or shown transformer is of 12012, okay. If, for example, again, there are 1000 number of turns for secondary winding, that is N2. Okay. This first half secondary, how much turns will be there? There will be 500 number of turns, and for remaining half secondary, there will be again 500. Are you agree with this? That's why we are saying the total number of turns of secondary are 1000. And at 500 number of turns, that enamel of that copper wire, insulated wire, it is removed, and by soldering that separate, or we can say that center tap terminal, it is extracted. So this is the simple construction of that center tap transformer. Now first of all, see what is mean by this 12012. 12012 means what? If you have taken the DMM connected at AC measurement, and if you connect it at this outer terminal with respect to center tap, then it will be able to measure that voltage as 12 volt AC. Correct? Similarly, if you done the measurement across remaining half secondary, again it will be 12 volt. Are you getting it? And that's why generally it is given as 12012, right? If that measurement is done across end to end, that means if it is done over here like this, then it will be how much? It will be 24 volt. Are you getting it? Is it visible properly?
Yes, sir.
Whatever I shown for this center tap transformer, if the measurement is done at the outer terminal with respect to center tap, then it will be 12 for this example. That is for 12012 transformer. If that measurement is done end to end by keeping that center tap terminal as open circuit, remember this one, then that measured voltage, it will be 24 volt AC, right? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, do you know about why it is always written as 0? Do you know it, or shall I explain?
Yes, sir.
What? Yes. Shall I explain, or all are familiar with this 0? Why it is always written as 0? Okay. Firstly, I will try to explain it. Those who don't know will get clear about that middle, why it is always written as 0. Okay. Now, remember, suppose we are considering that input voltage as 230 volt AC with peak voltage of 325 like this. This is nothing but 325 volts peak, correct? Or 230 volt RMS. We consider during the positive half cycle of that input, that is between 0 to pi, this first outer terminal will get positive potential like this. By the property of inductor, at another outer terminal, what nature of waveform will be there? It will be 180-degree phase shifted. Remember this one. It will be like this. That means for the time period 0 to pi. Here also for time period 0 to pi. Okay. Now try to find out at pi by 2, suppose how much will be the potential at this terminal. Now, before going to that, see, we are considering that property of inductor end to end, right? Instead of that, if I consider this secondary as a 2 inductors connected in series, and separately, if we analyze it, if this first terminal, we will call this one as terminal A, this outer next as B, and middle one as C, right? When terminal A will be at positive potential, or will we want to follow the input signal for the time period 0 to pi, its opposite terminal as per the property of that inductor. If end to end that inductor secondary coil is considered, then the terminal B, it will be at negative potential, right? For the same time period, that is 0 to pi. Okay. Now, if I consider separately that 2 inductors which are connected in series and commonly acting as a secondary coil, if I consider this much part, then when this one will be at positive potential, its respective center tap terminal, it will be at which potential? Just write center tap terminal with respect to A, terminal A, it will be at negative. Are you getting it? That means whenever that terminal A will have the peak value, that is at pi by 2, then terminal C, it will be at how much? It will be at minus Vp. Again, at the same, that is pi by 2. Are you getting it? Is it visible properly? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Your screen is blurred. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are considering half part of that secondary winding. Whenever terminal A of that secondary will be at positive potential, its respective center tap, it will be at negative potential. Is it? And we taken the time period at pi by 2. Pi by 2, terminal A will be at positive peak. As per the property of inductor, its opposite terminal, that is center tap terminal, it will be at negative peak. Am I right? Now, consider the remaining half secondary. As we consider terminal A at positive potential for time period 0 to pi, B it will be at negative potential, and hence its respective center tap terminal, it will be at positive. Are you agree with this? 0 to pi. And again consider at pi by 2. At pi by 2, terminal B, it will be at minus Vp, and its center tap, it will be at plus Vp. Agree with this? Now, at pi by 2, net potential at terminal C will be how much? I am asking one question. At pi by 2, net potential at terminal C will be how much?
0.
0.
It will be 0 because of upper half secondary, it is at negative potential by the property of inductor, is it? And due to remaining half secondary, bottom side secondary, it will be positive. So at pi by 2, due to the upper half secondary, it will be at minus Vp, and due to lower half secondary, it will be at plus Vp. So the net potential, it will be 0 at terminal C, correct? So you can take at any angle, for example, like 45 degree, you will observe the same thing. That means that center tap terminal, it always remains at 0 potential. Getting? Is it okay? And that's why
Yes, sir.
pronounce the given rating of that center tap transformer as, for example, 12012. Don't pronounce it as 12012. It is not O, it is 0. Remember. Okay. Now, we'll see the working of our desired circuit. Again, same method of whatever we consider. I will go on to consider this upper terminal as A, this bottom one as B, and center tap as C. Whenever input will be at positive potential or for 0 to pi, we'll consider that input is at positive. Terminal A, it will go on to follow the input, and that's why here I will consider terminal A will be at positive potential, while terminal B, it will be at negative potential for 0 to pi. Okay. Now, due to this upper half secondary, first of all, we will analyze what we can obtain as output. So for this time period 0 to pi, terminal A is connected at this node, which is formed by these two diodes. So out of these two diodes, here I will be able to consider this diode as a D1. So diode D1 is in forward bias condition, while the another diode, which is connected at the same node, is at reverse bias condition, and that's why the current due to the input through diode D1 will start to flow like this. Okay, and it will reach at this node, which is formed again by these two diodes. Now we have to decide what will be the direction of flow of current later on. Whenever it will reach at this node, this diode is acting as reverse bias, and that's why that current have to flow in this direction only. So current will be able to flow through RL as shown, and that's why there will be a drop across that RL with the shown polarity. We are measuring the voltage at this node. That means just connect the positive terminal of our CRO over here and negative terminal to the ground. That means across RL, right? So as the drop shown polarity is like this, that means we can say there will be a drop across that RL like this for time period 0 to pi. Okay? Are you getting it? Due to the upper half secondary. Now, at the same time, we will analyze the lower half, that is for time period 0 to pi only. Already I told, as terminal B is at negative potential, its respective center tap, that will be at positive, correct? That means this ground is at positive potential with respect to B. And that's why whatever current will be going to flow, that will flow from ground through RL towards terminal B. And we have to find out the path now, correct? So see, as center tap will be positive with respect to B, that means as center tap is grounded, that means current will be going to flow from this ground through this RL like this. Again, it will be going to reach at this node. Okay. Now the question is, now two diodes are connected like back to back at this node. So which one will start to conduct? This one will start to conduct. So here I will be going to title it as a diode D2. Why not this one? Because at any time period, if you consider the potential available at this node as well as at this node, you will observe that potential will be same. And that's why that diode is in equilibrium condition, we can say. Across that PN junction diode, whatever potential will be there, it will be equal. And that's why this diode will not go on to conduct. Why I say diode D2 will conduct? Because first of all, that positive potential is applied at its positive, at its anode terminal at this node, while its cathode, if you observe, it is connected to B, which is at negative potential. Means we can say diode D2, it is highly forward biased. And that's why the current will start to flow through diode D2 like this. And again, we'll come back to terminal B, because that terminal B is at negative potential. Agree? Are you getting it? So see, whatever drop will be going to occur across this RL, because of this lower half secondary, it will have the polarity positive as a ground, and this VO2, it is at negative potential. Again, take the second channel of our CRO and connect its red terminal or red wire at VO2 with respect to ground. At ground, there will be black wire. So what nature of waveform you will be able to observe on CRO? As a VO2, it will be negative half for time period 0 to pi. So see what is happening for time period 0 to pi, VO1 we are getting as a positive half cycle, and VO2 we are getting as a negative half cycle, right? Okay, now go ahead for next half cycle, that is pi to 2 pi now. Now terminal A, it will become negative. This opposite terminal, it will become positive with respect to its center tap also, right? Now just tell me which diode and how it will go on to conduct. See, we'll start always from positive terminal. So as terminal B is positive for time period pi to 2 pi, that current will start to flow like this. Just a minute, I will check. Okay. Now, for time period pi to 2 pi, whatever current will be able to flow, that will start from terminal B. It will flow like this. Again, it will reach at this node. Now again, there are two options, either through diode D2, or I will be able to title it as diode D3. So D2 is reverse bias, and that's why current will be able to flow through diode D3 only like this. As D1 is in reverse bias condition, it will get diverted and will be able to flow through RL like this. Again, there will be a voltage drop across that RL like this. We are considering pi to 2 pi. Terminal B, it becomes positive, and that's why current will start from B and will go on to end on its negative center tap terminal, which is grounded. That means over here. See, this center tap, it is grounded. That means all these three terminals are at the same potential, right? Again, in this case also, you will observe that potential drop, it is positive towards the upper side with respect to ground, and that's why whatever half cycle we will be going to obtain it will be like this for time period pi to 2 pi. Agree? Now, we'll see about the upper up secondary, which is negative. Terminal A is at negative potential, but its center tap, it will be positive, right? Now, as center tap will be positive, again current will start to flow from ground, that is from center tap, it will go on to flow like this. Again, we're going on to reach at this node, which is formed by, already I mentioned this one as diode D2, this one as D3, and that's why only one is remaining. I will title it as D4. Okay. Now see, diode D4, its cathode terminal, it is at negative potential for time period pi to 2 pi. But its anode terminal coming from center tap, it is at positive potential, and that's why the current will go on to flow like this. And that path will get complete. Again, the drop occurred across this RL will have the same polarity. That is, ground will be at positive potential with respect to that VO2 terminal, and hence whatever output we will obtain, that will be negative. Or we can draw it like this. Are you getting it? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Is it visible properly, Blackboard?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So see, by using a single transformer, we can design and develop dual power supply. Dual power supply means what? Positive as well as negative power supply, right? Now, across this upper half, if I connected one filter capacitor, see, I will be going to show here one filter capacitor parallel to, is it visible? I'm changing the color. Okay. So see, if we have connected one filter capacitor, the polarity should be like this, because we know this VO1 terminal, it is at positive potential, and that's why that filter capacitor, electrolytic capacitor, it should get connected like this only, correct? So that this pulsating DC, it will get converted into pure DC like this. And how much will be its average value? That VLDC, it will be equals to twice Vm by pi. Yes or no? Similarly, if I connected again one more capacitor across the lower half, here you have to take this terminal, it should be, that negative it should be to VO2 of that capacitor, and positive it should get connected to ground. Then and then it will go on to store the charge with the shown polarity. And hence the obtained output voltage with filter capacitor, now it will look like this. That will be below x-axis. And again its average value, that is VLDC, it will be equals to minus twice Vm by pi. If you have notebook and pen, you can just note down all these things. Correct? So this is nothing but unregulated dual power supply. Why I am calling it as unregulated? Because only filter capacitors are used. There is no regulator IC right now. So without that regulator IC, if we try to connect variable load, then what will be going to happen? This constant DC, it will become somewhat like this. Ripple will get added in that, and the amount of that ripples, it will depend on how much current we are extracting from that circuit, or how much is the value of that RL. Whenever that RL will be lower one, then the discharge of that capacitor will be more, right? Similarly, here also you will get that constant DC if we have connected again variable RL, or if that RL is somewhat small, then again from pure to impure DC, we will not obtain. And again, if we have taken the average value of this one, V average, it will be less than without RL, or when IL is 0, right? So see what happens whenever we are increasing the load current, the average value of the DC voltage, which is obtained across the filter capacitor, it gets lower down, right? That's why we are calling it as an unregulated DC power supply. During our previous session, I already explained about what is meant by that regulated and unregulated, and I explained it in terms of its percentage load regulation and percentage line regulation, right? So for regulated power supply, how much is the percentage load regulation? 0% or 100%?
0%.
Yes, it is 0% because by changing the load current, that load voltage, it remains constant. And that's why we are calling that supply as a regulated power supply. And it will be possible only by using that 3-terminal IC regulator. But at this stage, we do not prefer that IC regulator. And that's why whatever DC we will be going to obtain, that will be unregulated DC. Is it clear? Is it okay or any doubt? You can ask. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Already I told our ESD lecture, this should not be just like a lecture, it should be an interactive session. Whatever the things I shown, is it okay or not? Is it clear or not?
Clear, sir.
Okay. If it's okay, then this rectifier circuit, you will call it as what? Which type of rectifier circuit is preferred to design and develop dual regulated power supply?
Bridge rectifier.
Any else? Any else? So this is not bridge rectifier, remember. It looks like a bridge, but this is not bridge. In case of bridge rectifier, there is no need of center tap transformer. You might have observed it, right? And in case of bridge rectifier, again, one more thing, during each positive half cycle, 2 diodes are in conduction. But in this case, only one diode is in conduction. And we are taking that DC voltage separately, right now, from lower half secondary and upper half secondary. So it is simply just acting as a full wave rectifier using 2 diodes, right? It looks like a bridge, but this is not a bridge rectifier, remember. Center tap is preferred and it is utilized, remember. If it is bridge rectifier, then the center tap terminal, we have to keep it as open. No need of that 3-terminal AC source. Again, one more thing, center tap transformer, it is also known as 3-terminal AC source, right? Which are that 3 terminals? Outer 2, and third one is the center tap, correct? So, shall we go ahead? Because we have to design dual regulated and linear power supply. Now the remaining things are very simple. Already we covered during our previous sessions also. I will be going to design and develop plus minus. Here I will mention plus minus 5 volts, 1 ampere. What you will do? Which IC regulator should get preferred? Fast. Already we covered all these things. No one? Then what is the use of my previous sessions? If you don't know.
7805.
7805. For what purpose?
For plus 5 volts and 7905 for 9.
Very nice. So why you are delaying to give the answer? Huh? Be fast, na? So we'll going on to prefer, your answer is 100% correct. We'll going on to prefer that two IC regulators, one is 7805 that will be going to produce plus 5 volt, and 7905 that will be going to generate minus 5 volt, right? So simply connect that 7805 here, and then RL, so that it can generate plus 5 volt regulated DC. And similarly, another regulator IC, that is 7905. Last time also already I mentioned what is the requirement of that 78 and 79 in terms of their inputs. For 78 series, input should be positive DC, unregulated positive DC, and for 7905, it should be negative DC. And you will observe we are applying negative DC as an input to that 79, right? And again there will be RL, so that it can generate minus 5 volt regulated. Is it clear? Again, if you have notebook and pen, you just draw this circuit diagram, because we have to design now, we have to select the components. During practical session, I will go on to give the another problem statement and that complete design that you have to perform by yourself. I will not again going on to explain in detail, right? So see, as current is mentioned, maximum current that will go on to flow, or that will go on to extracted from this regulated power supply is of 1 ampere. This is DC rating of this power supply, 5 volt and 1 ampere. These are the DC voltage and current ratings respectively. So if the current required is of 1 ampere, then how much should be the minimum value of RL? Maximum value RL mean should be equals to how much, and RL max will be how much? Just let me know it. Already I told, we discussed during our previous sessions. RL max will be how much?
Five ohm.
RL max. RL max. Maximum load resistance.
Infinite.
Infinite. Very nice. That RL max, it will be infinite. That means don't connect any load over here, right? So that there will be no current. IL will be 0, right now. You will get 5 volts. That means without any RL, if you try to measure by using DMM, the voltage at this node with respect to ground, that is nothing but what? RL is equals to infinite, right? And that DMM will be going to read it as a plus 5 volt. Now RL means how much minimum resistance or minimum resistive load I should connect over here, so that our regulated power supply will go on to provide us a regulated DC. As already that current is mentioned, that is 1 ampere. So simply it will be V by I, correct? V is 5 volt regulated divided by I, 1 ampere. That means it will be of 5 ohm. And the same thing you have to apply for negative side also. It is applicable to both. So minimum resistance we can connect to our dual power supply is of simply 5 ohm. Is it? If we go down below this 5 ohm, what will going to happen? The current extracted or current flowing through these regulators, it will get exceed to 1 ampere, and that will be harmful to our regulator ICs, because these regulators can handle maximum 1 ampere of current. Similarly, at full current rating, that is at 1 ampere, there will be a heating problem with these regulators, and that's why we have to prefer heat sink also. Even if the current is somewhat equals to or somewhat less than its maximum current handling capacity or current providing capacity, that is 1 ampere, right now. So whenever we are taking that maximum current from these regulators, at that time there is a need of heat sink. Because of that maximum current, these IC regulators get heated, right now. The junction temperature increases, and that's why it gets heated. Okay. Then about the transformer. Which transformer you will prefer in this case? Huh? How to select that transformer, or what is the selection criteria of that transformer in the linear power supply design? Already I explained last time. So I will expect fastly answer from your side. So be fast. Whatever calculation you will be able to perform here by applying the same previous logic, that will be the voltage rating of half secondary. Remember, previously whatever calculation we done, that was for simple transformer. That means without center tap transformer, and that calculated voltage was that secondary end-to-end voltage, right? So by the same logic, whenever you will be able to calculate it, whatever voltage rating you will obtain, required voltage rating of that transformer, that will be for half secondary only. That means if it is of, for example, 12 volts, then your selected transformer, it should not be simply 12 volt transformer, or it should not be 606 transformer, because that half secondary, see, that half secondaries are responsible to provide both positive as well as negative DC voltages, right? And that's why that half secondary should be that much powerful in terms of their voltage rating. That means they should produce the required DC voltage. So whatever calculation you will be able to perform here, that will be only for half secondary. So already I told, if your calculation goes to 12 volt, suppose 12 volt RMS, that means your selected transformer, it should be 12012. If it goes to 18 volt, that means your selected transformer, it should be 18018. Should not be 909. End to end, it will be 18. Correct? But it will not be able to produce our desired output voltage, because calculation, whatever calculation we are doing, that was for half secondary only. Okay. Now, in this case, that is for 7805, input voltage, we will be able to consider how much we should consider. I think last time we considered it as 10 volts, 10 volt unregulated. Yes or no? If you can recall, or if you have noted it, then you just check how much input voltage we considered. I am saying considered. It should not be exactly that much only, because as per again our previous discussion, the input voltage to these regulators, it should be 2 to 3 volts more than that of their rated output voltage, because of these regulators are known as high dropout voltage regulators, right? That's why last time also I mentioned V in min, that should be 7 to 8 volts, and V in max, it is applicable to both regulators, 78 series as well as 79 series. But only the difference is what? In case of 7805, minimum it should be 7 to 8 volt positive, and in case of 7905, V in min, it should be -7 to -8 volt. And similarly, V in max, it is of 37. If you can recall, already I told these things last time also. Okay. And during our previous calculation, I think we consider the input voltage, this one as 10 volt, and here we will take this one as -10. And accordingly, you can calculate the required rating of this transformer. One thing you will be able to observe, as compared to previous, the current rating of this transformer, it will get double. Because remember, if it is, for example, 12012 volt transformer, and its current rating is mentioned as 1 ampere by the manufacturer. That 1 ampere means what? That complete secondary coil, it is capable to provide 1 ampere of current. Right now. So whatever calculation you will be able to perform here for current rating for this transformer, while actual selecting that transformer, that current rating, it should get double, because already I told that half secondary is responsible to provide the positive output, and half secondary is responsible to provide the negative output. And if we are using that dual power supply at a time, that means here somewhat DC load is connected to the positive as well as another DC load connected to the negative. That means we are extracting the current from both power supplies, and that's why the current rating of that selected transformer, it should get double while actual selecting that transformer. This is the, again, another basic difference in that selection criteria. Is it okay now? So almost our time is also over. So during our today's practical session, we have to design and develop plus minus 12 volt dual regulated linear power supply, and the same thing you have to implement by using Proteus simulation software. And those who have laptop PC, they have to submit it today up to evening, that simulation. Okay, first of all, during our practical session, what we will do, we want to decide which transformer we will require or how it is to be implemented in that simulation software. I will be able to show it also, that during my live session, how the transformer ratings are to be changed, then which diodes are to be considered. I will be able to show you the data sheet also for that diode, or how it is to get read the data sheet for that particular device, then for 7/8 series, 7/9 series, and all that. Okay. So that regulated power supply we want to design and develop during our practical session. So don't miss it again. And whatever work you will be able to do, that you have to submit today only up to evening. Okay. Those who have that laptop and PC, right? Those who don't have anything, then they have to just simply do the paperwork, scan it, and upload to my Google Classroom. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we will stop, and again we'll meet through our Google Meet at 1:45 sharply. Okay.